human connection is also the key to inclusive leadership. And here's how I define inclusion. And I use inclusion, the words inclusive leadership, synonymously with the title of my book, with bigger leadership, with leading bigger, with the ability to lead bigger. And to lead bigger is to lead inclusively, which means that you are committed to widening your perspective for greater performance and impact. That's it. Widening your perspective for greater performance and impact. That's all inclusion is. That's all Lead Bigger is about. And how do you do that? You do that by surrounding yourself with people who are different than you, with perspectives that are different than yours. You expose yourself to data sources and information sources that you don't typically look at or read or listen to. It's all about widening those perspectives for greater impact. And the reason why I wrote this book is because I believe wholeheartedly that the ability to lead inclusively, as I've defined it, is a core leadership competency of the modern world. And if you cannot lead inclusively, you're going to eventually lose to a leader who does. Right? Why is that? The world is much more interconnected today than it has ever been. Would you agree? Right? I worked in an industry that was responsible for aiding and accelerating that interconnection. But somehow, we're more divided and polarized than ever. Doesn't it feel that way? So those of us, those of you, who are able to lead in a way that constantly widens your perspective, to elevate your performance and the performance of your people, are going to be the ones who win. Okay? And that's what inclusion is all about. Especially in this moment in time, I want to take a moment to talk about the difference between values and ideology. Just spent the last couple of moments sharing with all of you that values are your guiding principles in your life and in your work. Yeah? And we want to work in a place with people who share values with us, who value trust, who value respect, who value collaboration and camaraderie, and want to have fun, whatever the case may be. So I've just spent some time talking about the importance of common values and understood values. Ideology is different, though. Ideology is about our beliefs. And every single person in the entire world has a different set of beliefs than any other person, right? There's no two of us. This is the beauty of diversity. There's no two of us that are the same. Even identical twins who may be the same on a DNA level, they've not had the same exact experiences in their lives. They do not share the same brain or the same heart, right? Or the same soul, okay, if you believe in that. So they are not the same. And one of the biggest misnomers in today's world, I believe, again, another fueling reason why I decided to write a book about inclusion, about leading bigger, is that too many people out there are confusing values for ideology. If we seek to create an environment where everyone has the same ideology, think about it. Our ideologies are shaped by how we're raised, by our religion, by our politics, by the media we watch, by our friends, by our family, right? If we actually are trying to seek an environment where ideologies are the same, aren't we actually creating an echo chamber so loud that we are doing the opposite from widening your perspective? From my definition of leading bigger and inclusion, you're actually narrowing your perspective. You're creating an echo chamber so loud that you can't see or hear or sense what's happening out there in the broader marketplace, which will impact how your efficacy in the market, whether it's as it relates to your workforce or your work itself. Okay? So trying to push for, to strive for common ideology actually flies in the face of leading bigger. Right? In fact, one of the, I think, most challenging, growth-oriented, lifelong learning aspects of being a bigger leader is to intentionally surround yourself with people who have different ideologies than you. Right? And there's plenty of science out there and data out there that says the more diverse a team is, that is not solely a gender or race-based statement, it's all different dimensions of diversity, okay? The more innovative they are, the more creative they are.
There is a beautiful, strong, compelling, I would say, frame on page 2. And you say, reflecting upon how you came to this idea of leading bigger,
Yeah.
which is really at the heart of that connectivity between a high performance culture and a people culture. You say, because using hierarchy to drive behavior always felt small to me. I love this. I think it's iconic. I think it's you. I think you should put that all over your website.
Okay.
And your connected CEO stuff. Talk to me about where that comes from. I think there's a real insight where you're rejecting this idea
Yes.
that simply on the basis of hierarchy,
Yes.
we can compel people to follow us,
Yes.
to do what we want, irrespective of whether or not there's congruence with their purpose,
Yeah.
their values, the culture they need,
Right.
and fulfillment.
Yeah. So where this belief comes from, it actually comes from the biggest role model in my life, my father. And I'm the child of immigrants. So my parents immigrated to the United States from their native country of Taiwan in the 60s. They came with almost nothing. And they were pursuing the proverbial American dream. My father was one who was super high intellect, super high kindness, super brilliant. He's got his master's and PhD in electrical engineering in 3 years. But he was not a supervisory type, right? And he entered the work world in the United States after graduate school and was just constantly being pushed to try to take the hierarchical path. But one, he hated it. Two, he wasn't good at it.
Right.
So the struggles I saw him have with the proverbial ladder, but then his path to, you know what, I'm going to become a distinguished individual contributor. And arguably, I can have more impact on people than if I had the title, right? Because there were plenty, one of the reasons why he just shunned the idea of the hierarchy was that it was clearly not always effective. It had much more to do with who the person was than what their title was.
Yeah.
And he kind of infused that in me, And I have another saying, quote of mine, which is, to be good is to do good for good, right? That comes from my dad, right? So to be good, you need to do good. And you need to do good in a way that's sustainable, right? For good. And that is fundamentally about people, right? And while hierarchy is helpful, let's face it, right? If you have a big title or a big role, there are often clearer paths to have impact, but it's not a given. You can actually do more damage if you have the title and the path and you're not leading in this way.